Hello, this is a voiceover for me explaining my cheap percent run in SpongeBob SquarePants Battle for Bikini Bottom. Cheap percent is a category in speedrunning where the goal of the category is to beat the game as quickly as possible using any means necessary, including cheats within the game. So here we can take a look at the rules. Finish a game by defeating RoboSponge, and there's in-game codes, and the legal ones in this category are all of them. Timer starts when I create a new game, and the timer ends on the destruction of the final fuse. So here is my run. There's me. I still had long hair at the time. I think my PB at the time was like just over 2 minutes. These are not the same splits I used. So there I just started the run by initiating or by pressing yes, saying that I don't, or pressing A, saying no, that I don't want to save the game or auto-save the game. So there's a beginning cutscene that can be skipped, so I mash to skip it. And then there's a text box that pops up from Gary. So you want to cancel it as quick as possible, but you can't mash B because the button B to cancel the text box doesn't come up yet. You can't even see. I think I meshed up frame 1. This is frame by frame, by the way, what I'm doing here. But you have to wait to press B because you can't immediately press it, so you have to time it. Then you want to pause as quick as you can so you can enter the codes. So the codes are you enter codes to get 80 spatulas because the Chum Bucket Lab, where the final boss is, requires 75 spatulas to get in. And you also enter the Cruise Bubble cheat and the Bubble Bowl cheat. These are the two unlockable like power-ups. Not power-ups. Two unlockable, I guess powers would be a more correct term. They're like two attacks that you can unlock throughout the game by beating some of the bosses. So you can use the in-game codes to unlock them. And this is important because there's a trick called cruise boosting that requires both of these, that is required for beating the final boss and getting to the final boss. So here I am entering the codes, which is the 8 spatulas and the 2 powers. So I just did it, and since I have 80 spatulas, I can also bypass the 1 spatula requirement for SpongeBob's house and walk outside. It's faster to bowl in to this like little triggered cutscene because the trigger for the text box that lets you leave SpongeBob's house is closer to the door than the cutscene is. So if you bowl into it, you can continue moving while the cutscene initiates, allowing you to move as close to the door as possible. So at about here, you want to bowl so you can bowl past the cutscene, or into the trigger rather, while the cutscene is playing. See, here it is. The cutscene hasn't ended yet, so I can't pull it. So then the cutscene ends, and you leave, and this split, right here, this is the timer for the run, and these are splits. This split is ended when I pull the door for the final, or when I pull the door to exit SpongeBob house. And then we wait for the loading screen. And then we skip this cutscene as fast as we can, and we press B when it comes up. And then I turn the camera to face more in line with Plankton, And what I'm gonna do off of Plankton is something called a cruise boost. And the cruise boost is it's a movement technique, a movement tech that allows SpongeBob to move twice as fast than he can walk normally. So this is done by, you saw earlier how I I bowled into the cutscene. And as you can see, the initial bowl is quite quick. So it moves a little faster than SpongeBob can. So we want to trap the bubble speed. And we can trap the bubble speed by initiating the cruise bubble at the same time as the bubble bowl. But that only gets a very slight boost. So how do we get the second boost? So here's a very slight boost. It's the first bubble bowl. The second cruise boost here, because we only do one right here. The second cruise boost is done by moving to the side and using the cruise bubble and the bubble bowl at the same time. And because we're sliding back and forth, it allows us to trap that walking bowling speed. So we can move twice as fast. And we kind of slide off a Plankton here. And one thing about the cruise bubble is that you can't use it while moving. So we kind of slide off a Plankton to cancel the animation of the cruise bubble so we can start walking on our own a little bit quicker. So here's SpongeBob moving twice as fast. So we're going to come up to this little section in the wall. This is a giant visible wall here because Robo Sandy, the first boss, requires 15 spatulas to unlock, and then the second part of the hub world opens up. So we want to skip that. So what we do is we wedge ourselves in this little corner and we jump and we use the slam attack that is only used in midair. And this little wedge in the corner actually allows the slam to get stuck. And because this wedge in the corner is the way it is, we start moving upwards. So here's SpongeBob looking like a freak moving upwards. So we ride the invisible wall all the way up, and there's a part of the invisible wall that allows this to stop. Every other part of the wall does not like pop his little bubble feet, but one part of it does. And the one part of it, excuse me, that does is right above this middle section of the fence. So we want to line ourselves up with the middle section of the fence, and then it helps consistency to turn the camera to the side. So then SpongeBob pops. So then we jump from the tree dome on top of the police station, and the invisible wall where Robo Patrick is, which is the 40 specials, is a little shorter than the previous one, so we can just jump over it. So we have to do a full double jump and a spin and a slam. So we do the double jump and the spin, or we do a jump and a spin here at least. A spin in this game traps your vertical momentum, so you kind of just like float in the air for a little bit. And this is important for crossing large gaps with ease. So then a double jump and a slam. A slam would usually only send you downwards, but since we're cruise boosting, it sends us a little bit forward. And it does this because the bowling animation is independent of SpongeBob's walking animation. So even if you aren't touching the control stick, or if you're in an animation such as a slam, SpongeBob is still going to move anyways. So here's SpongeBob slamming, and I'm probably touching the control stick here, but my control stick movement does not affect SpongeBob in this case. Only the cruise boost movement does. So then I jump over the wall, and the split ends when I enter the chum bucket. So then it's faster by like half a second, which is important in this category because it's very short. It's faster by about half a second to run immediately to the wall and do a cruise boost. I miss it, so I actually lose time in this split opposed to just walking towards it. But it's fine. So then an animation plays and time ends, or split ends when I enter the final boss, which is this room. So this is Robo SpongeBob, and there's a debug trigger at the or right above where SpongeBob spawns that instantly ends the fight. It was left there by the developers so they didn't have to complete the fight every time they wanted to access the second part of the fight. So they put it there so they could use one of their like debug tools to just like float up there and automatically trigger it. So we can actually get there if RoboSponge slams his hand into the platform and we can use the rotation of the platform to boost us up into the sky. So all we have to do in this first fight is hit SpongeBob, I think 2 times, and then Plankton comes to attack us. And then if we hit him, SpongeBob will slam the platform and we can use it to boost ourselves up. So here, um, you can actually instantly activate a cruise boost, or very quickly activate a cruise boost, and you can detonate it manually to hit SpongeBob's hand. So that's what I do here. And the hitbox of the cruise bubble hits the button on SpongeBob's hand before the hand hits us. Otherwise, we would have gotten hit. So then I turn forward and I hit a second button. And it also, if you use the cruise bubble right as the level begins, uh, some attacks won't hurt you, such as SpongeBob's hand. So then I hit a second button, and then I hit Plankton. So then SpongeBob's in this little like sleeping animation because Plankton came forward. So then he kind of wakes up a little, he jumps up, and he's about to slam the platform. So then I walk over to the right, and I jump at the time he hits the platform, which the rotation of the platform boosts SpongeBob into the air, and he can hit the debug trigger. Oh my gosh. The debug trigger is obviously invisible because the developers wouldn't want the players to see it. So then the animation just got triggered. So then I beat the first part of the fight. So in the second part of the fight, you go into Robo SpongeBob's brain and you have to uh, break all of the fuses. So you take this trampoline and there's like a combat section where you fight a bunch of enemies and then you break a fuse, and then another combat section where you fight a bunch of enemies and break a fuse, and then another one, and then another one. And then there are three fuses inside of SpongeBob's brain that you're supposed to use to cruise bubble, and there's like a tunnel, and you uh, fly the cruise bubble into the tunnel to break the fuse. And Roboplankton is trying to shoot you at the same time as you're doing it. So you have to hit him first and then fly the cruise bubble in there. But we don't have to do this because the final boss only requires that the 3 inside fuses are broken. So we can actually access the inside of SpongeBob's brain without going through all of this by cruise boosting. So here we turn around and we get a cruise boost. Then we turn around and trampolines in this game are I don't know if there's an official term for them, but I like to call them scripted and not scripted. This trampoline is scripted. It only will take you to over here. You can't move around once you hit the trampoline. Other trampolines in the game, you're able to move independently even after you've bounced on them. One strange property of cruise boosting is that if you bounce off of a scripted trampoline, it won't send you to where it's supposed to go. You'll get locked with the cruise boost movement and you won't be able to move. But we can use this to our advantage. So we jump at the very edge of the trampoline with a slam to help the timing. And then we, are not able to move on our own. So it just lands us on this like little TV thing that's on the inside of SpongeBob's brain. And there's just this little lip here where SpongeBob's able to stand. So we can stand on it. So we come out to the left side of the TV and we're aiming for this little wedge in SpongeBob's brain. And this little wedge you can clip into. But it's kind of hard to make it if you're like trying to jump around because cruise boosting you can't like turn around freely because of the momentum pushing you forward. So you have to like move like back and to the left so you kind of fall off. And since this is like a 3D platformer, you have a little bit of time until you're off of a grounded area to where you can jump. Those are like coyote frames. So imagine like those are called coyote frames, so you can imagine like the coyote chasing the chicken? What is it? I don't even know the pop culture reference here. The meep meep dude. Meep meep. Coyote tries to chase after him and he runs away. And he like when the cliff falls out from under him in like old cartoons, they'll like stand there for a second and then fall. That's kind of what this is. You have 30 frames to where you can input. No, it's not 30. You have 15 frames to where you can input a grounded move, such as a jump or a spin or a bash or whatever. So we can use this to our advantage by kind of falling off of the TV and jumping towards this little wedge. So we use a double jump and a spin and a slam to line ourselves up to hit this little wedge. So then we have to do what's called L clipping. And L clipping is a tech in this game to where SpongeBob uses the L trigger, which is binded to the cruise bubble. And when you're cruise boosting, the cruise bubble kind of doesn't work since you're moving forward. So you kind of like jitter back and forth and it kind of lags the game a little bit. So you can use that to clip into things like little sharp slopes like this. So you can clip into the slope. The camera you have to turn it to where it's facing inside of the brain, and then you L clip into the brain. So then you jump on top of this fuse, and we don't go into it yet. This is the last fuse we go to. The optimal route is to come over here, and this section is actually ledge grabbable. So we ledge grab in to this part of the fuse, or this part of the brain, and we bash into this fuse, and then we can ledge grab this part of the brain, and we come over and we hit this fuse, and then we can L clip into this part of the brain, and we come over and we hit this fuse. I actually messed up in my PB. I would have gotten a 152, but I just should have missed. So that's the run. And time ends when the fuse is broken. So, game hasn't been beat yet. I beat the game. You can see me kind of go crazy because I missed it. But yeah, that is cheat percent. And other people obviously do it better. I'm only 13th place in this category. Cheap percent is a very competitive category because of its short length. So people like to run it in their free time. But yeah, that is cheap percent in BPB. Thank you.